Okay. Right. Okay. That chat up. Put that there. And I think we're live. Are we live? Oh, what's this? Oh, new things. New things on the chat. Very interesting. Very interesting indeed. Right. Let me just get comfy because I'm too close to the screen. I'm getting old. My eyes don't work anymore. A cup of water. Okay, so that's all working. Well, kind of. It's kind of working. We can. We'll put that on the map for now. I'll wait for. Have I got the other chats? Any info on the Devlin? Actually, I have lots of info on the Devlin because... Oh, that's my phone telling me someone's just followed me. Let me just turn that off. I have lots of information on the Devlin because that's the next video I'm doing. I hopefully do it either tomorrow or the day after. But yes, I do have the... So Devlins, there's two branches of Devlins. First one is here. Let me see if I can put this on the map. So you, in a place called Ardbow, their coat of arms, which is a modern iteration. It's not a medieval coat of arms, but they take the crosses. The yellow cross is from the High Cross of Ardbow. They claim descent from the Kenaloans, so they are related to the likes of, well, most people in the surrounding area. You sort of O'Hagans, O'Neills, McHughes. They claim this, so the Devlins claim descent from Niall Noglach, so obviously Niall of the Nine Hostages. Well, this branch does anyway. So yeah, you've got the Devlins here, and then you also have an unrelated branch over in Sligo as well. You have another branch of Devlins are found over here. They are unrelated. I'll put them on the map. They are on the map. Hi Cat. Yeah, wow, early today. Yes, can you believe it? I am early. Technically, I'm still late because I do want to start these at 10, but yes, I am early today. So yeah, there's two Devlin branches. I believe these Devlins are part of the Efiac or Mui, so they're related to the likes of the O'Dowds. Probably the first Devlin, the name actually arrives in first appears in the annals in the, I think, 11th century, where they are named in a battle fighting for the O'Neills. There's actually a story as well that they were the sword bearers for the O'Neills. Now that's traditional rather than historical. There's no like primary sources that state it, but it does seem to be something that's been sort of mentioned over the years in many sort of later sources, so it's possibly true, but yeah, that's the Devlins. So I hope that's some information. Where is Moran located, or Moron, or I have a video on them. There's a lot of branches of Moron, a lot of branches to go into. It comes from 5 eponyms, so there's 5 names that were eventually Irish names that were eventually anglicized into Moron. So, and then obviously Moran has connections to Europe too. There are European names, French and Spanish, I believe. Definitely Spanish names that are the same. So you can understand that there's a lot of names that sort of a lot of people hold that surname. Yeah, so yeah. But if you want to check out the Moran video, same with the Liam, same with the O'Reillys. I've got a video on them. Most O'Reillys, the Rileys in English and an English and an Irish surname. Most O'Reillys are Irish, so and they descend pretty much from this one family. There is, I'll go and come back to them in a second. There is a Cork family called the O'Rahillys that seems to have been anglicised to O'Reilly, but or they're a Kerry family actually, but um, they aren't really well attested. They appear sort of in the 16th century. So most O'Reillys come from Breffna, the Kingdom of Breffna, modern day sort of Cavan. They are a junior branch of the O'Rourkes. So they descend from the same line as the O'Rourkes. They mostly ruled East Breffna, but sometimes they would rule the whole thing. But the O'Rourkes tended to be the more dominant family. Yeah, most O'Reillys come from them. Considine. Can you please do Murray? I believe it's incorrect. If you want to do Murray, first check out the Murphy surname. It's a variation of Murphy. Care Bear, I have a Doyle video. Welcome in, fellow cousin. I am a Doyle. Considine is a brand is found down here in Clare. It's comes from a individual who was Constantine O'Brien. He was a member of the O'Briens. I believe he took holy orders. They're associated with a church, and it was sort of changed to Considine. So they're a very small family, found pretty much primarily just in on the coast of West Clare, but they are a branch of the O'Briens. So Doyle has many variations. Scottish, well, it's anglicised from a Scottish surname, from an English surname or English/Norman surname, and obviously an Irish surname. The Scottish ones would be a variation of McDowell. McDowell is sometimes changed to Doyle. We have the Doilies of England that would come across, and that would become Doyle. And then you have the Irish branches, mostly found in coastal regions. The fact that the name sort of refers to is a variation of dark stranger or dark foreigner. This is given to the myth that it's a Viking surname, but actually, although there may be Norse paternal lines within the many different unrelated branches of Doyle's, they aren't. Most of them are of Irish descent. Dovegilla was an Irish name. It's attested in the annals before the arrival of the Vikings, so it's a variation of that too. And what it seems to be, according to Dr. Claire Downham, is that as Irish families are moving into Norse settlements like Difflin or Dublin, Lumnock like Limerick, the Irish families are moving in for work, for marriage, for trade, whatever, and they're settling in this. They're given this name as Doyle by surrounding Irish. So that's why it's so common. And that's why there's so many unrelated branches. My Doyles are from this neck of the woods. Doherty, I have a full video of Doherty on the other channel that I can't mention because TikTok gets cross. But most Dohertys descend from the Dohertys of Inishowen in Donegal, and they are a branch of the Kenalowan, so again they descend from the same lines as the O'Briens, and they pretty much stayed in Inishowen and ruled pretty much most of this area for most of their sort of history, but they would side against the forces of Hugh O'Neill in the 9 Years' War, because they were promised great things by the English. Unfortunately, those promises were backtracked on, and they would be part of a last sort of ditch attempt at a rebellion where they sieged Derry with their cousins and kinsmen, the MacDades, and would in 1608, I think it was, and they would fail at that. So yeah, they would lose most of their lands because of that wee rebellion. There is another family down in Galway called Doughty, which can sometimes be anglicised to Doherty, but it's a very small name. Um, so yeah, it's um, if you're gonna put a name in, just if you're gonna put in a name in, I would just ask that you put it down in Irish. I have a lot of comments coming through on multiple chats, and I don't have time to sort of anglicise that name, and also because many Irish variations have multiple anglicised variations. So just put the English, please. I know it's counterintuitive, saving Irish history, or trying to keep Irish history alive and asking for it in English, but yeah. So someone asked for Connor. Connor gets mentioned most nights. It's it's got a lot of unrelated families. So we'll start with the most common and most attested and well recorded is the O'Connors of Connacht. Probably made more famous by the fact that they are one of the claims of the last High King of Ireland, the last Irish High King of Ireland, is Turla O'Connor, who was High King during the arrival of the Anglo-Normans in 1169, and his actions along with the O'Rourke's against Dermot MacMurrough would actually start the Anglo-Norman invasion. But yeah, so they're the most famous branch, and they broke off into three branches. You've got the O'Connor, the O'Connor Don, the O'Connor Sligo, and the O'Connor Rue, I think it is, the Red O'Connors. Anyway, but they all descend from a tribal group called the E Bruin, who were very prevalent in Roscommon, and they are related to the likes of the McDermotts through a line called the Silmurrihi, which is another branch of that wider tribal group. So yeah, they were quite a dominant political faction within medieval Ireland, but they weren't the only O'Connors. There are other branches of O'Connors, like the O'Connor Kerrys, who are an unrelated family, and I think I have a video on these. But yeah, they descend from a totally different tribal group. The Kiera Lucra, or one of its sister tribes. But yeah, so they were quite a small faction, but powerful faction. Actually, their castle, I can't remember the name of it. Dr. Owen O'Neill does a great video on his channel, Forras Fierce, about their castle. It was a very unique design, but yeah, they remained quite prevalent for right up until the 17th century. Then you have the O'Connor Feelies. So again, they're from Offaly. That's where Offaly takes its name from. They again appear quite extensively in the annals, mostly because they're right on the border of what was known as the Pale. So the Pale was the only area really held by English, was really the only English administered area of Ireland right up until the Queen Elizabeth I, so the Tudor period, end of the Tudor period. Then you have the O'Connors of the Cianachta, so another tribal group found in northern Ulster, and these guys would rule sort of along the coast here before the O'Cahans or the O'Keans dispossessed them of their lands. So yeah, O'Connor's quite a common name in Ireland, mainly because it has a lot of prominent branches, and the fact that all these branches are, with the exception of the O'Connor of the Cianachta, are pretty well attested. Could you do a video on the Kievan? Is that the O'Keefes? Uh, uh, Ireland says no. What are the name? My Irish is actually not that great. I don't remember I remember the Anglicizations far better than um, the Irish versions. Uh, Cam, I have a video, Grimes video. If you want to go check it out. Uh, uh, Hang on. Let me just. O'Brien, please. Merrick, on the other channel, I have a full history on. Oh, Kavanagh, yeah. Now you've said it. It does make sense. I will do O'Brien. So, I'll go Kavanagh first. So, Kavanagh has two main lines, possibly three, but I'm only aware of two at the minute. Kavanagh, or two unrelated families. So, obviously, Kavanagh comes from Kavanagh, son of Dermot MacMurrough. So, Dermot MacMurrough, the individual pinned with bringing the Normans across to Ireland, the scapegoat of it all, even though he did go across to Henry II to request forces to get his kingdom back, the fact that you can't just pin it all on him. I'm sure he had no idea what the repercussions of that would be. But regardless, his son Kavanagh is the individual that would be the progenitor of the Kavanagh surname that is found in Leinster. Uh, so, and they would be quite a dominant family within Leinster politics. Although Kavanagh didn't dispute, so Dermot MacMurrough went across to England and requested troops from Henry II. He was granted leave to find knights in Wales and England to bring across to regain his kingdom. He went to an individual called Strongbow, or we've given him the nickname Strongbow, and Dermot MacMurrough gave his daughter Aoife as a dowry, and the kingdom of Leinster as a dowry for, or not a dowry, but he promised Strongbow he could inherit this on his death, and whether this was a political maneuver because Dermot knew that he had sons like Kavanagh, or he knew that Irish law didn't really allow primogeniture. It did and it didn't. So he could have just been trying to blow smoke. Anyway, when Dermot MacMurrough does die, his son Strongbow inherits, so takes the kingdom, and Kavanagh never opposes him. So that's just a wee side note there. But obviously, he's the progenitor of this family, and they would become quite politically dominant in Leinster for centuries. But you also have the Kavanaghs of found in up near Derry as well. They are unrelated. They're not of the same line. I believe they are descended from, or they claim descent from the Kennelowen, but I would need to double check my notes on that. Nicholas, please put the anglicised version of the name, please. Can the O'Sullivan... Oh, hang on, let me come back to that. I'll come back to that, but someone wanted O'Brien. So O'Brien's come from, and then I'll come back to that. O'Brien's come from a number of names, most associated with Brian Boru, who was High King of Ireland. Well, he didn't use the title High King of Ireland. He used Emperor of the Gael as his title, but he was part of the Dal Cosh, which was a tribal group that were based in East Clare, and became a dominant sort of political family under O'Brien's dad, Kennetig, and then O'Brien's oldest brother, Mahon. And then O'Brien obviously went on to conquer the entire island of Ireland. But they're the most dominant branch, and one that most people associate with. But Brian is also has Norman connections as well. A knight called De Brian came across from um, uh, England, or Norman England. So there will be branches that descend from him. There is also the problem is that Brian also gets anglicized from Byrne. So in the older Irish, not the oldest Irish, but it's Breen. Breen is not Byrne. Sorry, it's Breen. So um, Brian is said as Brian. It's pronounced as Breen. So you find the surname Breen, Breee. There you go. This Breen here. It became interchangeable with that. So some O'Briens are actually Breens and some Breens are actually O'Briens. So you get that problem too. Um, uh, right. Uh, the O'Briens brought the English Normans to Ireland. No, technically the McMurroghs did. The McMurroghs brought the English to the Normans. I mean, don't get me wrong, the word Norman, apparently there were Flemish knights that fought at O'Brien within Brian's army during the Battle of Clontarf. Um, so yeah, they um, the Ireland was very connected with Europe. All through the medieval, this idea that Ireland was this little island on the Atlantic, this full of barbarians that hid in the mist and talked to trees, and we were totally disconnected from the wider world is myth. We were just so there would have been backwards and forwards with Normans, but the McMurroghs brought the Normans to Ireland because of the O'Connors and the O'Rourkes. The O'Connors and the O'Rourkes um, pushed Dermot McMurrough out of his kingdom and forced and he requested Norman troops. Um, so yeah, Kavanagh. Yeah, we just did Kavanagh. That's right, we did just up here, and then the Leinster line. So let me just sum this in here. Can the O'Sullivan family boast the oldest recorded non-regent royal bloodline of Western civilization? I know this is going way, way back, but any validity? I don't know, because most Irish families, whether now you're gonna get into myth and legend and historical connection, but most um, Irish genealogies claim descent from only a handful of individuals. And it depends as well what tree you use, because obviously we have in our legends or myth, we have the Milesian connections, we all these sort of connections from Brodar, the king of the founder of the Gaels, and his 5 sons. So it depends on how you want to verify that validity, in the sense of like historical records of father to son. We have records of their ancestor. Bearing in mind that Niall of the Nine Hostages, Niall Nogaluk, is semi-historical. He is a historical individual, and that's from the 5th century. Then we have the 3 Collars, who are again possibly semi-historical. We don't know their actual whether they are actually 3 individuals or whether they're connected to another group. But again, they're from the 3rd, 4th century. So not only that, when you say the O'Sullivans, the name implies that they're the only individual descended from that single ancestor. When we know that the Sullivans have many cadet branches, like the McCarthys, O'Keefes, and these all took surnames around the same time. So who has the oldest genealogy when they all come from the same ancestor and you're all taking your surname around the same time? So again, I would say it probably not. As for Western civilization, I believe there are the Massimo family of Italy actually claim descent from a Roman patrician. So there's this old attempt in genealogies to claim descent from antiquity. There are families in the Middle East who are descend from Persian dynasty. You're talking like Darius. You're talking the times of I know you've said Western civilization, but I'm just saying you're talking times of Alexander the Great, and then anyone from India and stuff. So, but they all run into the same problem, the problems I just mentioned. Um, so, um, uh, let me just see here. Oh, hang on, Dan. Message retracted. Uh, I don't know what the message was. Um, I missed that message. Dan, that you retracted. Um, I'll come back to that chat in a second. Um, Kennedy comes from multiple branches. Again, we have the Kennedys of Clare, who claim descent from an individual called Kennetig, who may be Brian's father. I can't remember. So Brian Boru, Emperor of the Gael or High King of Ireland in the 11th century, 10th, 11th century. His father was called Kennetig. I don't know if they claim descent from his father or if they claim descent from maybe a brother or something like that. But they are closely related to the O'Briens in the Clare branch. There's also a branch found in Fermanagh, who I believe are closely related to the Maguires. And yeah, so you get a different branch there of O'Kennedy. And then you have Kennedys who are from Scotland, from Galloway, I believe, I believe their traditional narrative is they are of Brythonic stock, so they are of, I suppose you could be closely related more to Pictish lines than Gaelic lines or Gallic lines, which would become Gallic in the 14th century, but Gaelic lines. In simplified terms. So yeah, you get a lot of, and they would obviously come across to Ireland during the plantations of Ulster in the early modern period, roughly around the 17th century. So you get a lot of Kennedys in that area. In that. I heard you talking about Kavanagh. Can you say anything about the Nolan clan and their relationship to Kavanagh? Well, I mean, the Nolans, there's a couple of Nolan branches. There's the Nolans of Carlow. There's also Nolan gets anglicised from the O'Hoolahans as well. The O'Hoolahans, O'Hullahans, became Nolans as well in County Clare, or just north of County Clare, and the Nolans were associated with Idrona. So the places so they're associated with Idrona. So their neighbours would have been the Ryans. Some Doyles would have been their neighbours too. And I know that they had a turbulent history. The Nolans had a turbulent history with the O'Tooles. and are often seen in the annals against the English. I can't speak for a specific incident with the Kavanaghs, but certainly it's something I will look into when I look into either one of their histories, probably the Nolan histories, but um, I don't know of a single individual moment that sort of comes to mind. Duffys. Duffys have a number of famous. They're actually, so there's a number of unrelated families. So my Duffys, my cousins are Duffys. Above me, so I've got Duffy heritage too. We're from this part of the world. I don't know much about that Duffy heritage, but what I do know is probably the most famous branch of the Duffys is the Duffys associated with Roscommon. And what happened with them was they were an ecclesiastical family. So if you look up any bishops, pre-Reformation bishops of Ireland, especially around Connacht, so you're looking like Roscommon and those sort of surrounding areas, you will you will find a Duffy in those lines. They were a big ecclesiastical family, but when Henry II of England came across and met Rory O'Connor, I called him Turlet earlier, but it's Rory O'Connor. They formed the treaty called the Treaty of Windsor. And with that, they sort of set about that Rory is the king of the Irish and Henry II is king of the English in Ireland. And obviously the Irish and the lands, they sort of set their boundaries of their lands. Anyway, the individual that brought this treaty from Henry II to Rory O'Connor was a Duffy. I think his name was Cavlo Duffy, and he became, it's written in the annals, he became the Earl of Lissymore. I think it is Lissymore, something like that. Anyway, they're and that was he became the Earl of their hereditary lands. So yeah, they're fine. They're quite. They do appear in the annals quite prevalently, especially in the 12th and 13th century. So McKenna, I think did I cover McKenna tonight? I can never remember if I've covered the McKennas um, tonight or okay. Well, I mean, I'll just go for it. McKenna is a variation of a couple of names. Again, like every Irish, I just want to put it out there before people start. Every Irish surname has multiple origin points. There are a couple of names that sort of fall. You could sort of say don't. Maguire being one of them. But for the most part, whenever you see on these generic online websites about you're a Connor, you're descended from High King Rory O'Connor or whatever, or you're just no family, with the exception of one or two, like I say, the Maguires being one of them, has just one origin point. O'Neill is another one that gets sort of thrown around as you're descended from Niall of the Nine Hostages, when there are multiple unrelated O'Neill branches. Multiple families took the name O'Neill, who are not related. So I'm just gonna pop that out there before people sort of, and obviously then you have the McNeil is a variation. Yes, McNeil's a great example of that. You've got two unrelated McNeils of Scotland, the McNeils of Barra and the McNeils of the other place. I think Arran, are they? I don't know where they're from, but they're on the islands. They're unrelated, but obviously many O'Neills would adopt the McNeil surname as well. So none of those McNeils in Scotland, although their tradition is that they claim descent from the O'Neills, they're not related to them. Anyway, but I wasn't talking about them. Who was I talking about? I was going to talk about the McKennas. And then I get distracted. I'm too easily distracted. So, yeah. So, there's a couple of branches of McKennas. The more, I suppose, I don't know if they'd be classed as the more numerous, but they are from Tyrone, Monaghan sort of area, a place called it's like Tro, I think. Uh, anyway, yeah. So they're descended from they're associated with that sort of this neck of the woods. And I believe but they claim descent not from the northern Enil, but from the southern Enil. Um, so they're associated with, although they obviously still descend from the same individuals in early history, they I think they are said to have originally pushed up from Meath and settled there. Another family is found in Roscommon, and that was Wolfe. Dr. Wolfe put that name forward, but I know nothing about them. I just know that they exist. And then we have family in Wexford, I believe, is another branch. I'm having to think here. Again, I know nothing about them. I think it's Wexford or Waterford, but it's southeast of Ireland. Again, I don't know much about them. But we also have the Scottish branch as well. Again, another branch that came across with, I think they came across, they're from the same area as the O'Kennedys. So they are normally like McKenna, and but they came across in the 17th century. So yeah, so you have sort of those sort of four branches that you would find in Ireland. Let me just. I'm gonna just. Devlin, please. I did Devlins. I'll do it again. I don't know. I'll do it again. But I am doing the Devlins is the next video. That I'm doing. So, the Devlins are from one branch of the Devlins are from Ardbow. And an area called Ardbow, which is probably more famous for the high cross that's in Ardbow, and that high cross actually adorns the modern coat of arms of the Devlins. Obviously, those who have followed the channel for a long time, or those that know a bit, most coats of arms are modern iterations. They're not descended from antiquity. Very few, if it's singular digits of coats of arms that have any sort of connection. Irish coats of arms have any connection to the medieval period. That are, I mean, native Irish. Obviously, you're going to have Anglo-Irish and stuff. Yeah. So, but that's the cross that adorns the Devlin coats of arms. They are descended from the same lines as the O'Neills. There is a story that they are ancient sword bearers not ancient, but like medieval sword bearers for the O'Neills. That seems to be a medieval tradition rather. It's not a kind of mentioned in any primary sources, but that doesn't mean we just discredit it. It's probably a tradition that's been passed down through other means, word of mouth, copyings of older documents. But again, at the same time, we don't know for sure. But yeah, the Devlins are that branch. But you also have a Devlin over here in Sligo. They are unrelated, and they are, I believe, more closely related to the O'Dowds through the tribal group of the Ifiacra Mui. Okay. I've got a video on the O'Reillys. Got a video on the Riley. How are you doing that? I am. What am I seeing that gets? Why does that put your thing first? Everyone who's gifting, thank you very much. You do not have to gift. Gifting doesn't your name to the top. Irish history is free, should be free for everyone. But I do really appreciate because it does help the channel a lot. So I really I'm thankful to the Red Rascal, Claire, Robert, DK, Shannon, Johnny, Floss, Pretty Lady, Loving My Girl, Changeling, Tom, Cameron, Tara, Crusader, Kelly, Sheehan, Kathy, Susie, Luke, Kimberly, Synergy, and Bestie. Thank you so much for all the gifts. You do not have to gift though, everyone. If you have any loose change in the back of your pocket, please consider becoming a member. We do members only lives on Thursdays, where it's a bit more. I go through a bit more personal with the history. I'll give you a bit more information than just firing out a couple of paragraphs, sentences on your family, trying to get through as many as I can. It's a bit more personalized. So if you want to become a member or super fan, great. But yeah, you do not have to gift though. Although I really am thankful for it, so thank you very much. But I'm not here to go, give me money for my amazing knowledge of history. I'm not. So yeah. Let's just. Hi, Sean. How are we doing? Can I ask about the O'Kelly on your map in Sligo? I always thought Kellys were from South Roscommon. Any other prominent family names in Sligo not on your... Oh, okay, Sean. I tell you what, Sean. You're a member, so there's no way I can go through all the surnames in Sligo that are not on this map. But there are obviously multiple unrelated Kellys in Ireland. As for the O'Kellys in so obviously I've got the south, the main Roscommon branch. I can't actually remember for the life of me why I had a branch up in Sligo. I know it's attested with Sligo, but I can't remember. I think I came across it one day and I just put it on there, and I can't remember why. That's annoying me, because obviously we've got the Ivina, which is the south. Let me go through the list. If I go through the list in my brain, maybe I'll come to it. I'll tick it off. So you've got the Ivina group in East Galway, South Central Roscommon. Then you go across. If you go across, you've got the Brega group. So the O'Kellys from Brega. Then you've got the O'Kellys of Coola, who I have a video on. Then you have the 7 Seps of Leash, who are the obviously variations include Keeley, and I don't know if all these branches are related. That's why I've got like them as a group. And then we've got the anglicised form. So we've got the Kellys from Scotland and you've got the Kellys from England. So Kellys from Scotland, which I keep forgetting. I need to take this O off. I wonder if I put Kelly because it is a variation of Keeley or Kelly. And then so Kellys of Scotland, and then you've got the O'Kellys of Sligo, who are of Ard Kelly, the From Temple Boy. Yes, it's all come back to me. So this one is they descend from Ard I think it was Gelly. It was like in its earlier variation, it was Gelly, but it became Kelly. And they are, I believe in earlier traditions, they were McKellys, not O'Kellys, but they became O'Kellys when the name was retranslated to Irish in the 19th century. So they are from they're from Tira in Sligo, in a place called Ardogely. That's why I remember him. See, I knew if I went through the list, it would come back to me. O'Sullivan. Thank you very much, Kat. You don't have to do that. Thank you. You should know better than to be gifting anything. Um, but thank you very much for gifting a membership. I really do appreciate that. Uh, I'm so behind on these questions. Uh, Let me just go here. I'm having to skip through some of these names. Just some of you are having a chat in amongst yourselves on my other chats, so I'm just having to. So if I miss a question, I'm sorry. I'm a Waterford O'Donnell. There's loads of O'Neills in Waterford. Apparently, they came down from the Battle of Kinsale. Do you think that's plausible, or were they Munster far before this? Dan, there's some of them may, but there's a lot of families that claim descent from soldiers dropping off and staying around, and that probably did happen. There's a very similar story about the O'Byrnes of Longford, although modern DNA has proven that that's not true. Apparently, they came up to support the O'Neills from here. The O'Byrnes I'm related to up here, and their traditional narrative is they were troops of Fiacre O'Byrne's sort of descent son, and they settled here. But modern DNA has disproved that. But the reason there is some O'Neills definitely down in that area is the O'Neill Finn, who are part of the Dacia. So they are Dacia tribes, so they are unrelated to the O'Neills of the north. So you will find that maybe there are multiple O'Neill lines, but the O'Neills of southeast, one branch of them descend from the O'Neill Finn. Dorchester. Hang on. Why am I other? I don't know. I read an interesting story about how the McSheans are actually O'Neills. That's correct. In the 16th century, Shane O'Neill, so the family had a big split whenever Hugh O'Neill and Phelim O'Neill, his father, I believe, and Shane O'Neill, there was a succession issue. The English wanted Hugh O'Neill to inherit the earldom of Tyrone, and they kind of took him away from his father. Well, his father had been killed, I believe, but they took him away, educated him in Dublin to an English family, and kind of groomed him to become the Earl of Tyrone. And there was a couple of other contenders who didn't want to, obviously, Hugh to inherit the title for various means, and Shane was one of them. And then they became the McSheans. I can't remember if they ended up siding with Hugh in the end, because I know there was a couple of branches that sort of sided against Hugh O'Neill in the 9 Years' War. Many of these names are Scots Gaels, clearly related. Related in linguistics, not related through genetics. Although some would be, but not so much. So someone said many of these Scots Gaels clearly related. Yeah. So you have families like the Kennedys forming separately in Scotland, forming separately in Ireland. If you can find a Scottish surname, a Gaelic Scottish surname, or one that's believed to be a Gaelic descent, you will find its English, Irish compatriot forming separately in Ireland, because they're sort of their shared culture, linguistics, and how surnames are passed down and created sort of allows for that to happen. Over time, Anglicization changes a lot of them, and there are a lot of reasons why names sort of become so. Like Campbell is a primarily Scottish name. It comes from crooked mouth. It only really formed in Scotland, but what happened was when the Scots came across, with the plantations of Ulster in sort of the 17th century in the early modern period. Are families that had either similar sounding names or names that translated to the similar translation of the Scottish name, they would change their name to that. So you have McCowells becoming Campbells. So you can see how our history is so interlinked. It's unbelievable. Um, are the Munster O'Donnells related to the Ulster O'Donnells? No. Um, so there's a lot of O'Donnells. O'Donnell's a very common name. Donald um, was a very common name in medieval Ireland. The Scottish branches, you will have Scottish and Irish branches in Munster, mainly because of the MacDonalds. So if you have a Muck O in front of your name, it does not denote origin of your surname, mainly because in the 19th century, many families had dropped the O's and Mucks from their name after the Tudor conquest of Ireland. So in the 17th century, you had families with basically, we had very few O's and Mucks, very few. But by the 19th century, you had a resurgence of the Gaelic revival, this revigorating, trying to grab hold of their ancient roots and try to, because they became, it was nationalism was sweeping Europe. So this was one of the things we tried to do. I was to try and reclaim Irish heritage by putting our O's and Mucks back in our names. Problem is, many people did it incorrectly. MacDonalds, you have people who descend from the MacDonalds who are actually O'Donnells, maybe from Ulster, or you have vice versa. And like I say, there are many branches found in Ireland. The MacDonalds were a Gallowglass family before that, so they had land grants given to them for service rendered as hired soldiers all over Ireland. Kat, your gift does count for something, but you do not need to gift ever, 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 ever. But thank you very much. All of my members and superfans do not need to gift. The fact that you are monthly members, and are part of my members only lives and are part of the group. You do not need to do anything. So thank you very much, though. I really, as always, I very much appreciate it. Hang on. So, the Campbells and Clan Campbell are the villains of Scottish history. Apparently, I mean they're the most successful family in Scottish. Well, maybe they're the second most successful family in Scottish history after the Stuarts. They continue to thrive as a hereditary noble family within Britain today. So I think a lot of the vilification, because they get vilified for a lot of their actions that they did, but other people were doing it too. I think they just managed to. People hate those that sort of succeed on the backs of maybe what they perceive on the backs of their ancestors, when probably their ancestors were probably willing to do the same. It's just the Campbells married better, picked the right king, so those sort of things. So it's one of those things. Clan history is very fascinating. Thank you. I descend from Adairs. Might they be from Antrim? No, so the Adairs are a Scottish family, the Antrim branch. So a lot of the Adairs were given land just north of the Foyle. Not the Foyle. I can't even. Yeah. They were given lands in Antrim from the plantations of Ulster. So they're a Scottish family that came across. They were given native Irish lands were taken off Irish families, not families really, it was like chieftains and stuff. And they were given to Scottish settlers and planters. With them, each they were called undertakers, had to have several families come with them. The Adairs were quite a prominent family. They were given quite a bit of land. They were undertakers, so they brought across families like the Wallaces to settle in Antrim. And to this day, the name is very common in North Down and Antrim. But it is a Scottish name. Could Keely be spelled Geely? Yes, it could be. In fact, we sort of spoke about it with the Kellys over here, which originally had a G in it. And so there's a lot of variations of that. No, you're welcome, Dan. Yeah, often you'll find if you put your own surname in, there's actually like Devlin. I think the surname we spoke about Devlin earlier. I think someone said one time there's like 21 variations of the name. So that just shows you how mental it is, the anglicizations of the name. Hang on. Cameron again is another Scottish name. My Scottish history, although I'm pretty well up on Scottish families in medieval along the Hebrides and the Isles, it sort of gets weaker as you go more into the Highlands and the Lowlands. I sort of know a lot of the families about the Border Reivers because they came across a lot of the plantations were done with. So if you're just looking, I've just got to do that. My security check from TikTok. So hang on, let me just, if I do this, give me 2 seconds. We will put up another map. So, I don't know if you can see that. Right, so you can see a lot of the families here. I've got a Murphy video. You can see the large area from which the sort of plantations are happening and where they're settling as well on this map. It's a very good map. So most areas are sort of lowland. Very few from the Isles and the Hebrides. Most of them are coming from lowland areas or the Border Reivers. This is Border Reiver territory here. So you've got the names of Moffat, Armstrong, those sort of things. So I sort of have an understanding of these areas of surnames, but when you start to get to Camerons and stuff, my history kind of gets a wee bit weaker on Scottish history. But I will just use this time to plug a friend of mine, and I think if you check out the Scottish History podcast, or Scottish Clans podcast, Scottish Clans podcast, he does very similar work to mine, but better. And he's definitely worth a follow. So check him out, and if you have any questions about the Scottish surnames. Right. Okay, so we'll go back to the map here. Rich, thank you very much for the $1.99 gift on YouTube. Don't tell me off TikTok for saying it. But thank you very much. You do not have to gift, but thank you so very much. I appreciate it. Love all the content. Thank you. I love sharing it as much as I can. So thank you very much for supporting the channel. Every little helps. Again, thank you. And again, for everyone who's gifting on TikTok, Smiley, Makoda, Joe, Lissaloo, I am, Esme, Lane, Alyssa, RN2, Mandy, oh boy, it's coffee. Well, that's a name. Oh boy, I need coffee. K Hunt, Chopper, thank you very much. Emma, Matthew, Sammy, Rebecca, John, Cindy, Thank you so very much. You do not have to gift. But I'm not here begging for gifts or anything. You don't have to gift. Gifting doesn't put your name to the top of the list. The only ones I have to sort of reply to are my members because they get that right. But yes, can you? But I will try and get some more names here. So, but thank you very much. Can you tell me on the McLaughlin's? Yes, McLaughlin has a lot of variations, or origin points. So we'll start with the Scottish McLaughlins first. They are a family from Scotland who actually, in their tradition, claim Irish descent. So but whether that's true or not, I suppose DNA is the only one that's gonna verify that. So they're in purple here, but they would come across again with the plantations into Ulster. But they would move into an area that was already occupied by McLaughlins, a branch of the McLaughlins who were kings of Ulster. They are close cousins to the O'Neills. In my opinion, actually, the McLaughlins are the rightful heirs, rightful line. But that's just me. um, um, and Yeah, so they were kings of Ulster. They would actually be almost eradicated, especially in their royal line, by the O'Neills. You also have a branch of the O'Melaghlins, who are descendants from Mael Shocklin, the second, who was High King of Ireland when Brian Boru rose to power in 998. In 1002 anyway, he actually hands over the high kingship to Brian Boru. But from that, this name would actually be anglicised to McLaughlin. Then you have the O'Loughlin's, which is sometimes pronounced as McLaughlin. They're from the Burren, an area in Clare, and they are, again, not related. None of these branches that I've mentioned are related to each other at all. But again, they are, I can't remember if these O'Loughlin's are O'Briens or if they're from the tribal group that was found in this area, such as the Efiat Graáine, like the O'Shaughnessy's or the O'Clerys, so there you go. So you have a lot of variations from the McLaughlins. I believe also as well it's a name that's associated with Norse families, maybe people of Norse descent, because we in medieval Ireland and possibly Scotland, they refer to Viking lands that were outside where the Vikings came from the lands of Lucklin, which is the lands of lakes. Depending on which historian you ask, that can mean Norway or Scotland. Because obviously Norway and Scotland are both lands of lakes. So yeah. What about Kelly? I've been told the difference between Kelly and Keeley was a religious thing. Very few surnames were, not very few, but when you wouldn't change the name because of by one letter if it's a religious thing, because you've got to think when these English, the surnames didn't get standardized until the 19th century when the English language was standardized. So a lot of these religious sort of anti-religious discrimination and stuff were already were happening when names weren't standardized. So you would have a father, a son, and a grandson with three different, almost completely different spelling for the same surname, which is why you have different variations today. And then you go across to, like, you've got families that move across to, is it Staten Island that the Irish used to land in, the Irish immigrants, and then they'd have to have their name written down, and you'd have some individual from no understanding of an Irish spelling or pronunciation or dialect, which would completely misspell the name again. So very few would be because of religious reasons. What you would have is the native Irish name becoming an anglicised name. So the fact it became Kelly from Kellich, the fact you were no longer O'Kellich or McKellich and you were Kelly, that's the religious translation that's happened, because you're anglicising your name, whether you became Protestant or Catholic or whatever. It's you're being forced to change your name because you're trying to either show some allegiance towards the new occupation, the new order, or maybe like the McCalls becoming Campbells. It's influenced by religious policies, but they're not changing the religion. So again, dropping the O's and the mucks, that would be another reason. You could maybe say there's some influence there. Again, but it's really kind of more family by family, and it wasn't an endemic thing within surnames. Okay, O'Rourke. Yeah, O'Rourke has two branches, but has an interesting cadet branch. So the O'Rourkes are cousins to the O'Reillys. They're from Western Breffna. Um, uh, and Originally the homeland for the O'Rourkes seems to have been Leitrim. They moved down into Cavan, and at one point they were kings of Connacht too, and they owned pretty much most of this here. I don't know if I can show you the whole screen, but for pretty much most of this, they were quite a powerful family. But obviously, over time, the sort of power diminished, and the O'Farrells, who were a vassal of the O'Rourkes, broke away. And anyway, they spent most of the time eventually just fighting between the O'Reillys and trying to reclaim some of their lands down in Longford. But they were quite an active family politically. They claimed descent from the E. Bruin Breffna. Now, the E. Bruin are the O'Connors tribal group. Their proto clan, shall we say. That's a fabrication. It's not true. That they did that. They edited that in their genealogies. And then I believe Dr. I cannot think of McCarter, Dr. Paul McCarter, does a lecture on the fact that a branch that one of the princes must have been sent in exile, or made a challenge for the throne and failed, or got out of there before a brother who he didn't want to ruled, and he ended up being taken in by the McCarthys and becoming hereditary sort of beekeepers in McCarthy held lands in Desmond. So you get O'Rourkes in Cork who are from the Breffner line. That, I know it sounds like a mundane job or a low level job, but the hereditary title that they were given, it was still a nobility title in medieval Ireland. But you also have the McRourkes as well, here in Meath, who are unrelated. I think they are part of the Southern Neil. So O'Halloran, yeah. The O'Hallorans are from the borders of Clare and Galway. They were a border family, as in like they were a militaristic family because they were right on the border, but they made most of their wealth from... Am I mixing them up with the Hoolans? I'm having a moment. Give me a moment. Because there's two lines of O'Hallorans. One, they claim Viking descent, and one, but maybe of Ulster descent. I think I'm mixing up the history of the Hoolans or the Hallorans. I'm getting a wee bit... No, I am right. Okay, phew. I'm glad I had that there to remind me on the map. Yes, so Hallorans are a Dalcash family. So they're related to the O'Briens. And but what they did is they made most of their wealth because where their lands was, it was a pathway to a site, a sacred site. So they used to charge pilgrims at a toll. They used to get tolls from the pilgrims walking along their road, and obviously providing, because they paid it, they would be given safe passage through, and they could get to that sacred site. So that's where they made most of their wealth. But they were obviously quite militaristic, because the O'Briens trusted them to guard their northern border against the groups such as the Efiac or Anya, who were ruled by the O'Shaughnessy's, and before that the O'Clerys. Thank you very much, Elisa. Thank you very much for becoming a super fan. I really do appreciate that. I hope to see you on Thursday's super fan only live, where you can, if I missed any of your questions, or if you've got any other questions, you can ask them on the night in a bit more of a personal setting. Just me, you, and candles, and there'll be others there. But yeah, thank you so very much. Thank you very much. I really do appreciate you becoming a member. So welcome to the clan. Welcome to the clan. Griffin. Hang on. I'm getting a lot of McGowan's became smiths. Yes, they did. Especially during, I believe it's the Statutes of Kilkenny in 1337. Maybe I'm 1428. Maybe if I just stop throwing random numbers out, one of them will stick. I can't remember. But anyway, Statutes of Kilkenny are one of them was that Irish families had to change their name to a job title, or a colour, or a town, and they listed off a few of them. Obviously, a job was a smith, and McGowan is it means something. In the Irish translation, it has some reference to smithing, or to smith, which is why they changed their name to Smith. But yes, you are right. Is O'Rourke on that? Yeah, you just missed the O'Rourkes. I'm so sorry. You just missed them, but they are on there. What am I missing about the Battle of Dice? O'Clery is Ireland's oldest surname, I read. Yes, but that is debated, and not many people talk about the debate. Maybe they're not as interested as I am. But actually, the debate goes whether it's the O'Clerys or the O'Cannons. The O'Cannons have a claim to be the oldest surname in Ireland. I believe the one of them is founded in 958. So I think it might be is it the O'Cannons are 958 and the O'Clerys are 918 AD. Anyway, but it depends on if the O'Cannons can ever prove that the individual that has this surname. So O'Cannon, the E-Canon or E-Canine appear in the annals earlier than the O'Clerys, but we don't know if the individual is the grandson, or if he's the grandson or son. If he's the grandson of Canine, then he has the oldest surname. But if he's not, then he doesn't. So so it all depends. If any of you canons can ever prove that the first Icanian who appears in the annals is actually the grandson of this individual, you get the title of the oldest surname. Some people believe he is, some people believe he's not. Jack O'Rourke, thanks for covering your orcs. Do you have any books you could recommend to find out more information? Unfortunately, there's very few books that focus on Irish surnames as a like an individual surname like O'Rourke or any others. So and I suppose because of the history we do have, it's very hard to fill a book with that sort of information. But I will say the Scottish are better than the Irish, but the clans of Ireland are doing a very good job of trying to do something very similar. Is that your clan websites tend to have a great number of resources and a great amount of these sort of places where it tries to bring together your surname histories. O'Sullivans have a great website. And I appear on it. I'm just saying. um, but yeah, they have a great website, and I believe they've had some people make up books and stuff like that. So they're a really good place to go. Your clan websites for the history, but there are some really good historians like Dr. Paul McCutter, who has released some very great work about families, and he's actually done a lecture on the O'Rourke's on YouTube. It's a free video on his links to the O'Rourke's. I don't know, but if you type in Dr. Paul McCutter O'Rourke, he has his lecture there. So and his links to the O'Rourke. So again, I can't point you to a specific book, but I can certainly point you in some directions. Um, um, and obviously, if I do a video on them, like a YouTube video, longer form video, I do try to um, uh, link those websites. Are there any? Hang on. Are there any Harrington histories? My family's from. Why is that cut off? Hang on. Let me get that. My chat's cut in half the sentence. So I don't know where it is you're from. Let me see, Alyssa. Well, I sort that out. Rich, welcome to the clan. Thank you very much. I really do appreciate you joining the members. I hope to see you on Thursdays, or any day, but Thursdays obviously we can. Where I just do, like I say, I'll normally what I do is on a Thursday I'll do a chat about a specific clan, tribal group, specific event in history, for sort of 15-20 minutes. And then if you got any questions, we'll go through questions. And then if you got any family questions, we'll ask family questions. And then we just, if it gets really quiet, we just edit the map, put more names on. So hopefully come across. And obviously all the members and super fans eventually, very close to, I might do a sub goal soon, because I want to start doing raffles for history books. Great history books that I think people who are interested in clan and family histories would really benefit from. So we'll start doing raffles based on all members, and super fans will automatically be in the raffle, because that's what your subscription will pay for, or help pay towards, and then you can gift if you want to for other people for more tickets. So but yes, okay, let me see. Where did Alyssa's message go? Here we go. Are there any big Harrington histories? My family is from Adrigole, but I can only trace through the parish. Unfortunately, I don't really do specific family lines. I sort of, after the 17th century, I kind of lose interest in family histories, because we're so broken apart. I suppose I'm maybe interested in royal families, but as for Harrington, a lot of families did change their names. A lot of Irish families did change their name to Harringtons. Obviously, you have the Harringtons of England, and I believe it's a northern name. It came from northern England, but you have the O'Haraghty, which became Hegarty, but it's obviously becomes Harrington. It's anglicised to Harrington. You have the O'Hurdle, which again gets anglicised to Harrington, and then you have the O'Haraghton, who are probably the more famous Harringtons. Just to break that down a bit better for you, because I don't know where Ardgbowl is, unfortunately. Okay, so anyway, sorry, I'm just reading a comment there. So yeah, we'll break it down. So Walnut Harrington Lines is part of the Ivina tribal group, so they're related to the O'Kellys, and they come from the O'Harkton. So the O'Harkton are the related to the O'Kellys distantly, and they're found in Roscommon and Galway. They're the areas that you sort of find in that branch. The O'Hurundall are from Kerry. So and they are, I don't, many Kerry families, the problem with Kerry is they're from the Bear area, so they're probably associated with either McCarthy's or Sullivan's, probably one of the O'Nocta lines, but it's hard to actually say for certain because as much as the um, uh, Kerry families are well named, they're not really often linked to many tribal groups, apart from the very top dominant families. Then you have the Hegarty the group that became Harrington, and they're from sort of Mayo and Donegal, so they're found in sort of this neck of the woods. Um, and then obviously you have the English Harringtons that come across, and they primarily settled in Munster. Most of them settled in Munster in the field Munster plantations, but you will find them throughout Ireland. So yeah, they're the main areas that you would find her. So I like I say, I don't know where it is specifically, um, where specifically that area you mentioned is. But if it's in one of those areas, you can sort of break it down from there. Or I'm happy to. Whenever we have a live, we can certainly look through it a bit better. What is the link to the O'Sullivan site? I will message you later, Kat. Not a problem. There's a relation to the Tuatha De, I'm guessing that was the Tuatha De Danann, 10 generations back. Mac-A is from A Lug, is in some genealogies are recounted in Dunma. See, the Tuatha De Danann and all these sort of our mythology, a lot of it is fabricated or has been edited or has been changed. There was a heavy influence of editing or sort of early histories in the 5th century, in the 14th century, and then later on with English historians in the 19th century. So it's been heavily filtered and rewritten and rechanged. I, for one, obviously don't support the Tuatha De Danann sort of origin story as fact. I do understand that these links to the Milesians, Tuatha De Danann, all these sort of things. I know that there are probably echoes of truth in small details from passed on from memory, but on the large part, it's their stories. So Ardrigul is in Cork. Okay, so I would say then the Harrington, the individual from Elisa's Harringtons would be either one or two branches, the Harringtons of Bera or the English Harringtons that came across, if Ardrigul is in Cork. But I will certainly, for the members only live, so members and super fans, I do a bit more of a deep dive on the, for you, so don't worry about that. McGoldrick. Oh, they haven't come for it. Sometimes anglicised to Golden. The McGoldricks are from Fermanagh, and they are from Cavan, and they are a branch of the O'Rourkes as well. So, yeah, that's it in Irish. The individual who first asked me about them, asked me to specifically put it in Irish. Nicholas said, I don't know where your message has gone, I'm sorry. Hey all, hi Dave, how we doing? Hope we're well. The Murrays as well, Ivina. Yeah, so again, I know you'll have probably seen the Murphy video. You can see how Murray and Murrah and all these sort of variations sort of exist um, in Ireland, and how they've changed about, and how you get sort of multiple variations of it. Okay. Oh, that's why I'm starting to get a bit slow. But it's great to see you, Dave. Clan Campbell. Yeah, we've covered the Campbells, or sort of. Well, Clan Campbell, obviously from Argyll, but the Campbell, not all Campbells are from Clan Campbell. You have Irish Campbells too that are unrelated, and they come from the McCowells. They anglicised the name to Campbell, and the we're starting to slow down. The Brian is melting from the Callahans. They became them. As you can tell, when it starts to get to this sort of time, I start to get a bit slow after an hour and a half of just thinking about families and their locations and where do they come from. But yeah, I'm just trying to think. So I've started to get a bit slow on the old brain, and we're starting to get a bit. I normally try and end about now, so I'll do a couple more just to end on a. I know that this individual's been asking for a while as well. Hang on. Just curious if the family claims are of value, like who said they came from this one or that one first. I do competitive and exogenical work on myths. There is far more to them, but direct line probably not. Yeah, so we know that a lot of families. So I will do McMahon. I've seen your request. I will do McMahon. But let me just finish what I'm about to say here. So we know of a lot of families grafting their genealogy, like the O'Rourke's and the O'Malley's, both grafting their genealogy onto the Bruin. The Dalriera or of Antrim, although they seem to have been of more earlier groups that came from Scotland and settled, they would graft their genealogy onto the O'Neills. So because they're wanting to prove that they're O'Neills. But before that, they would try and graft themselves more into the Ullid, trying to claim being the true Ullid when the Dalfiatach are already claimed this title centuries before the Dalriada. The families in the Oanocht are all grafting genealogies onto each other to create more separate branches. The O'Briens claiming to be of Oanocht stock when they're actually of Dacia stock. So yeah, you do get this sort of these myths exist because they start trying to connect themselves to more and more royal lines, or well, your grandfather was the High King of Ireland. Well, my great grandfather was the High King of and he was High King before him. So I'm the true heir to whatever throne. So you can see how it just goes from there and snowballs. But who wouldn't want Niall as a puppy? That's true. But if you look at, I think he ends up where Niall has got like 25 sons, but the early genealogies have him at like 14, and then before that, I think there's even earlier ones where they only have him as like 12 or something. So you can just see that as more families want to be related to the O'Neills, they start putting their names in the family tree. But yes, I have started to get tired. Right, so I will finish on. If I didn't get your names tonight, I'm sorry. I tried to get through as much history as I can. But yeah, I don't know if I'm on tomorrow. Well, if I'm on a live on Irish medieval history tomorrow. I feel like it's next week. But I will do these two names that have kept been asked for the most, um, and then we will go from there basically, and I'll end the live. So let me just do me yawn, and then right. Okay, so I know this person I'd already sort of said I would do. So it's the McMahons, and they're already on the map, so it kind of makes it easier for me to not have to remember so much. So McMahon comes from Muthmagan, which is quite a common medieval name. So there will be a lot of unrelated families.